Hey guys, welcome back to another adventure where I'll be exploring Great Barrier Island's underwater terrain and scenery. Now, in this first dive, I only had 45 minutes to try and get a snapper or two, and I was more just exploring the terrain. I didn't really care all that much if I came back without a feed, but obviously I still wanted to get a fish. Now, one mistake I would like to point out that I made is that I didn't snoop around this area. And because I didn't snoop, I didn't see these two nice snappers that were parked up that are being pointed out with the arrows. So I unfortunately scared them off and didn't get them. But one thing I'd like to note is whenever you're swimming back from snooping for snapper, you always swim backwards away so you don't scare any more snapper when you swim to the surface. See this boulder and this gutway? This would actually be a really nice place for early morning snapper to be parked up. So somewhere like that, if it's early morning, you want to go snoop that sort of bouldery area and go dive over it. As you see, I sort of dive over a bit of this boulder. It's not the greatest part, but it's still a good example. Now, unfortunately, I have lost some footage from this dive where I shot a pori and caught a crayfish and a pigfish a bit later on. But anyway, what I'm doing with this pori is I'm just leaving it there as a ground bait while I go check my watch and see how much time I have left in this dive. Now, I didn't leave the pori in a great spot to have a ground bait because I didn't have much time to find a good spot, only about 10 minutes. So I just came and did my best to stay low to this boulder and sort of snoop over. Didn't really work because I didn't have enough cover. Now, with only about 10 minutes left, I kind of had to do a bit more snooping, which I've cut out. But here's a good example of snooping. I didn't do it great because I should have dived down going over this boulder. But I was still low enough and had enough cover for the snapper not to be able to see me and for me to be able to land a nice stone shot. I was really happy with this as it was a nice sized snapper and I was happy that I got to explore some terrain. But one thing I want to say is if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. Then I went and checked out this crack, but didn't see any crays in it, unfortunately. Anyway, this is the next dive spot area, where I just came down and checked this little bit of weed line to see if there was a chance of a boarfish or a John Dory sitting there. Anyway, I found a ledge about 10 seconds after this, so I didn't really have the breath hold to go down and snoop over it. So I stayed in the area and just had a little bit of a breathe up before I checked this sort of gutway. Now with these gutters, if it's early enough morning and they're sort of the right size, snappers like to just sit in them. They sort of sleep in them and just get in them to avoid the current. Now, as you can see in this clip, I sort of got low to check out this gutway, but I don't think it was early enough morning, so there weren't many snapper around. But I did just come over this other ledge to check out and see if there were any snappers parked up there. One thing to note though, this isn't the exact sort of terrain that you'll find snappers parked up in gutters, because it's a bit deep and a bit open. For snappers, you want to find more bouldery terrain and go there early morning and just go over the boulders and stay low and look down where the snappers can't see you. And I came and checked out this crack that was under a boulder, but I couldn't really see anything inside of it because I didn't have a dive torch, so I would recommend getting one. I do have one, but I just didn't have it on this dive. Now I came into this more shallow area as somewhere around here I'd gone powers in the past, because I've been to the Great Barrier once before, but unfortunately either the spot is gone and there's no more powers left, or I couldn't find the spot. Now I came in and checked this area out just in case there was a John Dory or something like that there, but I did hear a boat engine that was reasonably close, so I just went up to the surface and stuck my gun out of the water just for safety. Came in and checked out this weed line a little bit more, but there was nothing on it. Now one thing I will say is around the corner of this weed line there was a bit more, where I should have gone and sat down on the bottom and kicked up sand, because that brings in fish, but unfortunately I didn't do that. Here's where I should have just came down and kicked up a bit of sand and tried to lure in a bit of fish. Came down and took one more look down here, but didn't see any John Dory or anything like that. Anyway, it was about time to move spot again, so I just unload my gun and chuck it in the dinghy. At the next spot, just loaded up my gun and went to go check a couple cracks out, see if I could find any greys. Now I just came down and looked in these shallow cracks, but unfortunately, because I didn't bring my dive torch, I couldn't see much except for this cool red moki. Now one thing I will say is they are a good sign. Quite often you can follow them around and they'll lead you to big caves and holes where there can be crays parked up. Then I came down to set up a Kinnaburley, but unfortunately I forgot to come back to it. Now what you will see, in a couple seconds I miss a Kinna probably about 8 times. Another beautiful example of why you should always bring a dive torch diving with you, or you should get one. Now, I saw this trevally that I wanted to shoot because it was a decent size, but instead of doing the right thing, which is go and sit on the bottom and let it come to you, sort of chase it off a bit, which is never a good decision with fish. Now I came down to check this area for anywhere I should go sit on the bottom and try bringing those fish. But I couldn't find any weed line. I didn't know there was a weed line around, but it was a bit deep for me, so I was a bit cautious with doing all this. It was about 25 meters deep, that weed line. Anyway, here's another example of why you should always get to the bottom. Trevally aren't really friendly with me, they're sort of running away from me. Just not what you want, makes it really hard for you to get them. But with those Trevally earlier, even if I was close enough to them, I don't think I would have hit, because as I found out here, my mono wasn't rigged correctly, so it caused me to miss the shot with my spear going a bit down to the left if you watch closely. Now I come in and kind of creep across to the bottom because I'd seen a few snappers off that way. Now over here, I come down and sort of dive down probably about 10-15 meters and just sit on the bottom. Just to lure in some fish. You'll see it works really well. Most divers do this, but since I'm kind of new to diving, I don't do this all that much. Now later on in the dive, I did do a bit of weed line diving, which is similar to this, because I saw how curious the fish get. But I lost the footage for that, unfortunately, along with the footage of the cray and the pigfish. Now, unfortunately, with the shot that I missed, I can't blame it on monoline, it was just simply poor accuracy. Now, I came back down to get a little bit more bottom time, maybe luring some more fish, but unfortunately this shark came through. Sort of ended my diving where I was going and sitting at the bottom, at least for this part of the dive. Until I did some more later, but you can really see how curious these fish get and how easy they are to shoot once you get to the bottom. Now, one thing I will say about sharks is always just try to scare them off. It's good for if swimmers are in the water or if other divers in the water, they'll be a bit more timid. Now, one other thing I will say about sharks is they do lure in snappers and make snappers more friendly and curious, like this one I'm trying to shoot right here. Now I just dive down in case I see another curious snapper. I can get an easier shot with their broadside facing me. Now here's another curious snapper that I wanted to shoot from the top water so I didn't get scared off, but I don't have the accuracy for that, so I had to go dive down and get its broadside to face towards me so I could get an easier shot. Pretty happy just getting one more snapper. But one thing I will say with situations like this, just for any fish, just keep a little bit of pressure on the flopper so they can't get off, as I've watched one too many videos where people didn't do that and they lost some big fish. Now I just ickied the snapper, then go off to get some blue maumau, as I quite like them as sashimi and they're pretty easy to shoot. Here I take a really nice spine shot on one. Gets the job done quickly. Anyway, this pretty much wraps up the video. Unfortunately, I did lose some more footage where I was on the weed line and of me getting that crayon pigfish, so I will just flash that on screen in a second. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.